Welcome to the session, students. I am Praveen Kumar GY, Faculty, Department of Mathematics, Vidhyaashram, Temple of Excellence. Today we are going to discuss an interesting chapter in algebra, that is matrices. So in today's class, in detail, I'll describe the weightage of the chapter and importance of the chapter. So before we start the chapter, what is the importance of this chapter? This is a new tool to solve so many equations. So in linear algebra, matrices plays vital role. We have so many applications also. Matrix algebra and applications of matrix algebra also we can study in your higher classes. This will also become a basic chapter in engineering. There you'll be learning so many different types of matrix operations. So to learn all those things, first you should be thorough with the basic matrices. So in your board exam, in part A section, one mark question will be asked. So one mark question, and generally they'll ask definitions or they'll ask construction of a matrix, and not necessarily a particular question. Any one question from the chapter matrices. Till now they've asked definitions like define diagonal matrix, scalar matrix, or they'll ask construct a matrix. So one mark question, one 3 mark question. 3 mark question, they'll ask you to express a given matrix as symmetric, skew symmetric, or property, or they may also ask you to find the inverse using elementary transformations. And one 5 mark question. Now the 5 mark question is from matrix algebra, that is addition, subtraction, multiplication of matrices. So total you'll have 9 marks weightage. One 1 marker, one 3 marker, and one 5 marker. Total 9 marks is the weightage for the chapter. What is the weightage for matrices? 9 marks. One 1 mark question, one 3 marker, one 5 marker. Total 3 questions they'll ask. One in part A, one in part C, one in part D. You know, part A 1 markers, C 3 marker, and D 5 marker. I hope all of you are thorough with the weightage. What is the weightage? Exactly 9 marks. Now we start with the basics. That is, first let me teach you the definitions. So in this session we'll be discussing 7 different definitions. First, what is a matrix? Then what is the order of a matrix? Square matrix, diagonal matrix, scalar matrix, row matrix, and column matrix. So now what is a matrix? Matrix is rectangular arrangement of elements in rows and columns. What is matrix? Rectangular arrangement of elements in rows and columns. When we write the elements in rows and columns, it represents matrix. See, any matrix is symbolized using a capital letter. Matrix A is equal to 1, 5, 3, 2, minus 1, 6. See, here I wrote elements, and here I wrote the elements in rows and columns. Here you can see 2 rows are there, 2 horizontal rows and 3 vertical columns. So 2 rows and 3 columns. This is a matrix. And here we have 2 rows and 2 columns. This is also matrix. All of you know, a square is a special rectangle in which length and breadth are same. So that's why when we define like this. What is a matrix? Rectangular arrangement of elements in rows and columns constitutes a matrix. Now next important concept, that is order of a matrix. When you write any matrix, it will have order. Order represents number of rows and number of columns. Order represents number of rows and number of columns of a matrix. For example, if I write, suppose if I write A is equal to 1, 5, 9, 2, 1, minus 3. You can observe I have written a matrix. Here we have 2 rows and 2 horizontal rows are there and 3 columns, 1, 2, 3 columns. So 2 rows and 3 columns. 2 cross 3 is the order. What is order of a matrix? Order of a matrix represents number of rows and number of columns. So in this matrix we have 2 rows and 3 columns. So matrix containing m cross n means, matrix of order m cross n means it has m rows and n columns. And this is read as m cross n. We read this as m cross n. So we read this as 2 cross 3, means 2 rows and 3 columns. So m represents number of rows and n represents number of columns. First I taught you what is a matrix. What is a matrix? Rectangular arrangement of elements in rows and column represents a matrix. What is order of a matrix? Number of rows and number of columns represents its order. M cross n matrix means a matrix with m rows and n columns. So now I'll write a matrix, and 1 5 9 minus 2 minus 3 1. So I've written arrangement of elements like this. What is its order? So if you want to find order, the very first thing is you should know how many rows are there. How many horizontal rows are there? 1 2 3. 3 rows are there, so 3. Now how many columns are there? 1 2. 2 columns are there, cross 2. So 3 cross 2 is the order. What is meant by 3 cross 2? 3 rows. So this is first row, this is second row, and this is third row. Horizontal is what? Row. And vertical is what? Column. So now this matrix has 3 rows and 2 columns. What is meant by order of a matrix? Number of rows into number of columns. Then now all of you know what is order and what is matrix. What is a matrix? Rectangular arrangement of elements in rows and columns. Row means horizontal and column means vertical. What is order of a matrix? Order of a matrix represents number of rows and number of columns in a matrix. M cross n means m rows and n columns. 2 cross 3 means 2 rows and 3 columns. 3 cross 2 means 3 rows and 2 columns. 2 cross 3, see, very interesting and important, 2 cross 3 is not equal to 3 cross 2. Please understand, here 2 rows 3 columns, but here 3 rows 2 columns. It's not multiplication. 2 3s are 6, 3 2s are 6. This number of elements in them is same. Very interesting. So order also helps you to find how many elements are there. If I say 3 cross 2 matrix, 3 cross 2, if I multiply 3 cross 2, I'll get what? 6. So 3 cross 2 matrix will have exactly 6 elements. Number of elements in m cross n matrix is mn elements. So if I have a 5 cross 2 matrix, 5 rows 2 columns, total it will have 10 elements. But 5 cross 2 and 2 cross 5 are not same. Number of elements will be same, but order is different. 5 cross 2 means 5 rows 2 columns. 2 cross 5 means 2 rows 5 columns. So what is meant by order of a matrix? Number of rows into number of columns. Always we should say number of rows first, then number of columns. We have other important concept called square matrix. Now all of you know what is order. Now we go for square matrix. What is meant by square matrix? Square matrix means a matrix in which number of rows is equal to number of columns. So if it has 2 rows, then it should have 2 columns. Matrix in which number of rows is equal to number of columns is called as square matrix. For example, I'll write matrix A is equal to 5 3 9 5. How many rows are there? 2 rows. How many columns are there? 2 columns. So number of rows is equal to number of columns. Therefore this is a square matrix. What is a square matrix? A matrix in which number of rows and number of columns are same. So we have 2 types of square matrix we are going to study. One is 2 cross 2, 2 rows and 2 columns. The other one is 3 cross 3, 3 rows and 3 columns. Square matrix in which number of rows is equal to number of columns. Other interesting concept called diagonal matrix. What is diagonal matrix? All of you know what is a square matrix. So square matrix means a matrix in which number of rows is equal to number of columns. Now what is a diagonal matrix? Diagonal matrix is a square matrix. Diagonal matrix is a square matrix in which non-diagonal elements are zeros. In which non-diagonal elements are zeros. Means other than diagonal, all should be zeros. Other than diagonal, if all are zeros, we call them as diagonal matrix. So now if I take a matrix A, it should be a square matrix, means it should have equal number of rows and equal number of columns. So I'll write 5 0 0 7. Please observe, I've written a matrix 5 0 0 7. Here principal diagonal, see, starting from the first element, if I draw a diagonal, we call it as principal diagonal or simply a diagonal. So other than this diagonal, all elements are zeros. Here I wrote the representation of a diagonal matrix. So here diagonal means if I draw a square, if I take a square A, B, C, D, you know this is one diagonal and this is other diagonal. But here what is important thing, we'll take only principal diagonal. Principal diagonal means diagonal starting from first element. So it's a first element. So here this is the principal diagonal. Other than diagonal, non-diagonal element should be what? Zeros. Here diagonally we have A and B. Non-diagonal are what? Zeros. Therefore this is called as what? Diagonal matrix. And 3 cross 3 diagonal matrix. This is 3 cross 3 diagonal matrix. 3 rows and 3 columns. So here you can see diagonal we have elements A, B, C. But other than diagonal, non-diagonal means other than diagonal, all are zeros. So all these elements are zeros. Therefore this is what? Diagonal matrix. Now an example for 3 cross 3 diagonal matrix. 3 0 0 0 5 0 0 0 minus 9. So I wrote 3 cross 3. It's a square matrix because 3 rows and 3 columns, and other than diagonal all are what? Zeros. So it's a repeated question in your board exam. Define diagonal matrix. What is a diagonal matrix? First you should mention it is a square matrix. What is a diagonal matrix? It is a square matrix in which non-diagonal elements are zeros. A square matrix in which non-diagonal elements are zero is called as diagonal matrix. And how to represent a diagonal matrix? Again, in construction of matrices I will also teach you. So aij method. So here when I is not equal to j, the value should be 0. So when I and j are equal, it represents diagonal elements, these elements. So that's why representation of matrix makes you clear. See how to represent a 2 cross 2 matrix. Now I am going to teach you how to represent a 2 cross 2 matrix. So if I write A is equal to A11, A12, A21, A22, this is a square matrix. You can see diagonal elements suffix 1 1, here also we have 2 2. So if these two are equal, we say Aij. If I is equal to j, then it is diagonal. I not equal to j means non-diagonal. Here 1 and 2 they are not equal. So when I not equal to j, non-diagonal. So this non-diagonal place should be 0, this should be 0, then it is diagonal matrix. That is the representation. Don't worry about representation. Again I will be repeating because first I should teach you how to construct a matrix, then it will become easy for you. So now what I want you people to be thorough is diagonal matrix. What is a diagonal matrix? It is a square matrix in which non-diagonal elements are zeros. It is a square matrix in which non-diagonal elements means elements other than diagonal, that is other than principal diagonal, should be what? Zeros. And then we will go to the next definition, that is scalar matrix. What is a scalar matrix? Scalar matrix is a diagonal matrix. Say when we started diagonal matrix, I told diagonal matrix is a square matrix, but now we are discussing scalar matrix. Scalar matrix is a diagonal matrix. Means what? It should contain only diagonal elements, other than diagonal elements all should be 0. It's a diagonal matrix in which diagonal elements are same. Here it's a 2 cross 2 diagonal matrix. Why diagonal matrix? Because other than diagonal all are zeros, and speciality is diagonal elements are same. This is also k and this is also k. So first of all this is diagonal matrix, and in that diagonal elements are same, therefore this is a scalar matrix. And this is a 3 cross 3 scalar matrix. Why this is 3 cross 3 scalar? Again it's a diagonal matrix and all the diagonal elements are same. And you can give many examples. I'll take A is equal to 5 0 0 0 5 0 0 0 5. Is it a scalar matrix? Yes. Why? Because it's a diagonal matrix and all the diagonal elements are same, therefore it is a scalar matrix. Now you know what is scalar matrix. The other important definition, that is representation of matrix. Now I'll teach you how to represent a matrix. Every element will be placed, and I was talking about the scope of the syllabus. See, matrix helps you to arrange elements in arrays in computers. In computer memory, matrix representation helps a lot to place the elements, and when you place them you can select them depending on their location. To locate, so we should give allocation. Allocation can be done by the symbolization. So that is the purpose actually. So first we will study how to construct a matrix. If you take a matrix A, 2 cross 2. 2 cross 2 means what? 2 rows and 2 columns. So we read this as first row first element, first row second element, second row first element, second row second element, A11, A12, A21, A22. So now I have written a matrix which is a 2 cross 2 matrix, A11, 12, A21, A22. So now Aij means ith row, jth column element. So similarly 3 cross 3 means 3 rows and 2 columns, A11, A12, A13, A21, second row first element, second row second element, second row third element, then third row first element, third row 3 2 3 3. Suppose if I ask you to construct, if I want you to represent 3 cross 2 matrix, 3 cross 2 means what? 3 rows and 2 columns. 3 rows and 2 columns. So I'll write A is equal to 3 rows. A1, second row, third row, and 2 columns, A11, A12, that's all. A21, A22, A31, A33. This is a notation. This is a skeleton of 3 cross 2 matrix. You can see 3 rows and 2 columns. So first I wrote 3 rows, A1, second row, third row. Then how many columns? 2 columns, 1 1, 1 2, that's it. 2 1, 2 2, second row, second column. Third row, first column, third row, second column. This is the thing. So I hope all of you understood what is construction of matrix. Now they'll give the formula. It is simple. In English, how you answer passage questions, like that these questions also, they'll give the formula how to write the value. So they told Aij matrix, see they gave capital A is equal to Aij in a matrix where Aij is equal to I by j. Elements should obey this formula. So now they want you to construct a 2 cross 2 matrix. Simple problem to demonstrate. Now they want you to construct, if you read the last question, they want you to construct a 2 cross 2 matrix. So 2 cross 2 matrix means what? A11, A12, A21, A22. So now I by j. So Aij is equal to I by j they told. So therefore that is 1 by 1, 1, then 2 by 1 by 2, then 2 by 1. So here 1 by 1, 1 and 1 by 2, here 2 by 1, here 2 by 2. So we'll simplify. When you simplify, 1 by 1 is 1, half as it is 2, 1. So this is the matrix. If they give any formula, apply the same formula for each element and get it done. Suppose if they give Aij is equal to I minus j, simple. They want 2 cross 2. So 2 cross 2 means what? A11, A12, A21, A22. So now I is 1, A11 means I is 1, J is 1. What is the formula? I minus J. 1 minus 1, 0. So in first part, A11 is 0. And A12 means what? I is 1 and J is 2, 1 minus 2. What is 1 minus 2? Minus 1. And further, A21 plus 2 minus 1. What is 2 minus 1? 1. Then A22, 2 minus 2. What is 2 minus 2? 0. So we got the elements. This is the matrix. So like this, they'll give the formula and you have to apply. This is what? This is how we'll construct the matrix. So now today I started with the chapter matrices. Let me summarize. So matrix is an important chapter. Total weightage for this chapter is 9 marks. One 1 marker, one 3 marker, one 5 marker. In today's class I started with definition. What is a matrix? Rectangular arrangement of elements in rows and columns is matrix. And what is a square matrix? A matrix in which number of rows is equal to number of columns, and order of a matrix represents number of rows into number of columns. M cross n, m into n is read as m cross n, that is m rows and n columns. Then what is a diagonal matrix? It is a square matrix in which non-diagonal elements are zeros. What is a scalar matrix? It is a diagonal matrix in which diagonal elements are same. And then I gave you a brief idea about how to construct matrices. In tomorrow's session, I'll be going ahead with many more concepts and many more definitions and problems based on what we discussed today. Thank you for attending the session.